Thank you for visiting my channel. Before we start, please hit the subscribe, like, and share buttons to receive notification of future presentations. Our lesson for today is constitutional tort under Article 32 of the new Civil Code. Definition: a constitutional tort is a judicial remedy that allows a person whose constitutional rights have been violated by a public officer or government entity to recover damages directly on the basis of the Constitution, even if no specific statute expressly grants such damages. It is called a constitutional tort because the wrongful act or the tort consists of a violation of a constitutional right. The doctrine is rooted in the principle that where there is a right, there must be a remedy, or ubi ius ibi remedium. Legal basis. Article 32. Any public officer or employee or any private individual who directly or indirectly obstructs, defeats, violates, or in any manner impedes or impairs any of the following rights and liberties of another person shall be liable to the latter for damages: 1. Freedom of religion. 2. Freedom of speech. 3. Freedom to write for the press or to maintain a periodical publication. 4. Freedom from arbitrary or illegal detention. 5. Freedom of suffrage. 6. The right against deprivation of property without due process of law. 7. The right to a just compensation when private property is taken for public use. 8. The right to the equal protection of the laws. 9. The right to be secure in one's person, house, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. 10. The liberty of abode and of changing the same. 11. The privacy of communication and correspondence. 12. The right to become a member of associations or societies for purposes not contrary to law. 13. The right to take part in a peaceable assembly to petition the government for redress of grievances. 14. The right to be free from involuntary servitude in any form. 15. The right of the accused against excessive bail. 16. The right of the accused to be heard by himself and counsel, to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation against him, to have a speedy and public trial, to meet the witnesses face to face, and to have compulsory process to secure the attendance of witnesses in his behalf. 17. Freedom from being compelled to be a witness against oneself, or from being forced to confess guilt, or from being induced by a promise of immunity or reward to make such confession, except when the person confessing becomes a state witness. 18. Freedom from excessive fines or cruel and unusual punishment, unless the same is imposed or inflicted in accordance with a statute which has not been judicially declared unconstitutional. And 19. Freedom of access to the courts. In any of the cases referred to in this article, whether or not the defendant's act or omission constitutes a criminal offense, the aggrieved party has a right to commence an entirely separate and distinct civil action for damages and for other relief. Such civil action shall proceed independently of any criminal prosecution if the latter be instituted, and may be proved by a preponderance of evidence. The indemnity shall include moral damages. Exemplary damages may also be adjudicated. The responsibility herein set forth is not demandable from a judge unless his act or omission constitutes a violation of the penal code or other penal statute. Elements of a constitutional tort action. Generally, the plaintiff must establish the following: 1. Existence of a constitutional right. 2. Violation of that right by a government officer or person acting under color of authority. 3. Damage or injury suffered by the plaintiff. And 4. Causal connection between the violation and the injury. Other supporting Civil Code provisions. Aside from Article 32, the Civil Code provides a broad net for catching government misconduct under the chapter on human relations. First, Article 19, the principle of abuse of rights. This article requires every person, in the exercise of their rights and performance of duties, to act with justice, give everyone their due, and observe honesty and good faith. Second is Article 27, refusal or neglect of official duty. This article allows an individual to file an action for damages against a public servant who refuses or neglects without just cause to perform his official duty, causing material or moral loss. Constitutional basis. The doctrine finds support in the Bill of Rights, particularly right against unreasonable searches and seizures, Article 3, Section 2, right to privacy of communication and correspondence, Article 3, Section 3, right to due process, Article 3, Section 1, right against self-incrimination, Article 3, Section 17, and freedom of speech and expression, Article 3, Section 4. The Constitution itself does not expressly use the term constitutional tort, but jurisprudence recognizes the availability of damages for constitutional violations. Importance in Philippine law. The doctrine of constitutional tort provides an effective remedy for constitutional violations, deters abuse by public officials, gives practical force to the Bill of Rights, and upholds the rule of law and governmental accountability. Without such a remedy, constitutional rights would become merely declaratory and unenforceable. This slide cites the distinctions between ordinary tort and constitutional tort. The issue of state immunity or sovereign immunity. A major hurdle in executing constitutional torts is Article 16, Section 3 of the 1987 Constitution, which dictates the state may not be sued without its consent. However, jurisprudence draws a very clear line between the liability of the state and of the individual officer. Personal liability. When a public officer acts ultra vires or beyond their authority or violates the constitutional rights of a citizen, the law considers them to have stripped themselves of their official character. The suit is treated as an action against them in their personal capacity, meaning state immunity cannot protect them. Vicarious liability of the government. Under Article 2180 of the Civil Code, the state is only liable for damages caused by its officials if they acted as a special agent, an official acting on a specific non-routine executive mandate. If a regular police officer violates your rights during a routine checkpoint, you sue that specific officer personally, not the Republic of the Philippines. Remedial safeguards, writ of amparo, and writ of habeas data. While Article 32 provides monetary compensation or damages after a violation, the Supreme Court introduced powerful extraordinary remedies to address active, severe violations of constitutional rights, specifically the rights to life, liberty, and security. Writ of amparo. This is a remedy available to any person whose right to life, liberty, and security is violated or threatened with violation by a public official or a private entity, frequently used in cases of extrajudicial killings or enforced disappearances. Writ of habeas data. This is a remedy designed to protect a person's right to informational privacy, allowing individuals to compel the government to update, rectify, or destroy surveillance data or misleading information gathered against them. Summary. A constitutional tort is essentially an independent civil action for damages mapped out primarily under Article 32 of the Civil Code. It acts as a vital check against the abuse of authority, ensuring that the protections written into the Bill of Rights are not just hollow declarations, but enforceable rights that carry a financial penalty for officers who overstep their boundaries. Leading cases. Aberca versus Ver, GR number L-69866, 1988. In this case, the Supreme Court ruled that the suspension of the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus does not bar individuals from filing an independent civil action for damages under Article 32 of the Civil Code for violations of their constitutional rights. The case arose when several detained individuals sued General Fabian Ver and various military personnel for conducting illegal searches, warrantless arrests, and acts of torture during raids targeting suspected subversives. The court rejected the defendant's claim of state immunity and official duty, emphasizing that military authority can never supersede individual constitutional guarantees and that the Constitution remains supreme. Furthermore, the court established that both the subordinates who directly committed the abuses and the superior officers who failed to properly supervise them are considered joint tortfeasors and can be held civilly liable, reinforcing the principle of public official accountability. Lim versus Ponce de Leon, GR number L-22554, 1975. In this case, the Supreme Court ruled that a provincial fiscal has no authority to order the seizure of personal property without a valid search warrant, even if the property is considered the corpus delicti or evidence of a crime. The case originated when acting provincial fiscal Francisco Ponce de Leon ordered the military to impound a motor launch from Delfin Lim in connection with a robbery investigation. The court held that the power to issue search warrants is exclusively vested in a judge or magistrate, and the mere fact that an object is evidence of a crime does not justify a warrantless seizure or circumvent constitutional guarantees. Furthermore, under Article 32 of the Civil Code, the court declared that a public officer can be held civilly liable for damages for violating a citizen's constitutional right against unreasonable search and seizure, clarifying that proof of malice or bad faith is not required to establish liability for such constitutional infractions. Yao versus CA, GR number 132428, 2000. In this case, the Supreme Court ruled that a court's faithful adherence to the constitutional requirement under Section 14, Article 8 of the 1987 Constitution, which dictates that no decision shall be rendered by any court without expressing therein clearly and distinctly the facts and the law on which it is based, is an indispensable component of due process. The case arose when George Yao, who had been convicted of unfair competition by the Metropolitan Trial Court for selling counterfeit lamb starters, appealed to the Regional Trial Court. The RTC issued a laconic one-page decision that simply affirmed in toto the MTC's ruling by quoting its dispositive portion and stating without further analysis that it found no cogent reason to disturb the trial court's findings. Although Yao subsequently committed procedural errors in taking his appeal to the Court of Appeals, the Supreme Court nevertheless set aside the appellate proceedings and nullified the RTC decision, declaring it a constitutional nullity that left the losing party in the dark and unable to properly pinpoint judicial errors for higher review. And finally, MHP Garments Inc. versus CA, GR number 86720, September 2, 1994. In this case, the Supreme Court ruled that a private corporation and its employee can be held liable for damages resulting from an illegal warrantless search and seizure. The case arose when MHP Garments Inc., holding an exclusive franchise to distribute official Boy Scout supplies, discovered that private respondents were selling Scout items without authorization. Instead of securing a judicial warrant, an MHP employee accompanied members of the Philippine Constabulary to execute a warrantless raid on the respondents' market stalls, confiscating their merchandise and causing public embarrassment. After the criminal complaint against the store owners was dismissed, MHP delayed returning the seized goods and even returned them incomplete or in inferior quality. The Supreme Court affirmed the award of moral and exemplary damages to the respondents, emphasizing that under Article 32 of the Civil Code, anyone, whether a public officer or a private individual, who is directly or indirectly responsible for violating another person's constitutional rights against unreasonable search and seizure, acts as a joint tortfeasor and must answer for the injuries caused. Thank you. If you find this presentation helpful, please subscribe to receive notification of future lectures.